Hey there! Today we're going to be talking about this pen, and you have no idea what it is. But it is in fact the Laban Ocean. Beautiful pen. I'm going to cover the parts of the pen. I'll do a writing sample. I'll tell you what I like about it, what I don't like about it. Let's get started. Okay, let's look at this Laban pen. I always say Laban like it's a French word, but of course it is a Taiwanese company. Laban from 1981, and I will be honest, I like Laban pens. I like them because very often they are rather affordable, and that I really like. This is a new model they made, which, as I understand it, is supposed to have an MSRP of about $150 US, and I rather like it. So let's have a look at the pen. It comes out of this box. I have not really organized the contents of this box, so it's a bit of a mess in here. I'll show you the pen in a second. There is the little booklet, comes with it, filling instructions, multiple languages, etc. There was a little pen sleeve, and there is the tiny, how I like to call it, the medallion, which comes around the clip when you purchase the pen. Let me close that gently so you don't get deafened. Let's look at the pen. Before we do anything else, let's compare this pen to my Lamy Safari, also known as the Safari. As you can see, interesting pen. The Laban is a little bit longer and maybe a tiny bit girthier. Now, I find this rather a pretty pen. It's called the Ocean, and I think that name is rather well chosen. Let me cover the parts of the pen. I'll tell you what I like about it, what I don't like about it. But first, I'll do a writing sample. Top of the pen we have a finial with the Laban logo, the L. A little hard to capture that, but there you go. The L with the sort of laurel crown. Then we have a clip. The clip is rather stiff, but it does work. I always like this material that Laban uses. I've had two Kaisers in this material. It's almost like an ivory, but of course to sort of take care of all concerns, of course it's not real ivory. Here we have a center band that says Laban, rather shiny and reflective, which is kind of nice. And then here we have that beautiful blue acrylic with a lot of metal rings, and then here near the end this end cap, which is not a blind cap, nor is it a piston filling pen, but it does allow you to post the pen rather securely, and then you have a pretty big pen. Unposted, to be honest, it's not that small either. It's a very nice size, I would say. Steel nib, laser engraved, which is interesting. What I found particularly interesting is that it is engraved 3952. And I am not 100% sure what that refers to. Could that be the height of Mount Jade on Taiwan? I wonder. Laser engraved with that 3952 Laban, and then it says Germany. And this happens to be a broad nib because that's what I requested. Section tapers down, flares out a tiny bit, same material as the cap. Looks rather nice, nice contrast with the blue. I also particularly like, visually speaking, the balance of this pen, because this end cap seems to be about the same size as the section, and then you have this blue. So you have ivory, blue, ivory, and I think that works rather nicely, visually speaking. Two metal rings there, a metal ring there, the whole thing unscrews, and there is the converter. Now almost empty, but I'm sure we can manage for the writing sample, and if not, that would make good television. Nice pen, nice size, and I will say I really enjoyed this nib. Very smooth and not at all skippy or over polished. And on that note, maybe we should just do a writing sample. So let me zoom out a little bit, and I'm sorry I continuously forget which is zooming in and which is zooming out, but I do what I can. Laban. Océan. Horrible. And the nib is a broad steel, and the ink is Visconti. Turquoise. One of my fave turquoises. The nib is nice, broad. It is also really actually pretty broad, and it doesn't really skip, which I rather appreciate because I have seen a lot of broad nibs recently that were overpolished. Fox jumps. There was a skip there. Could have been me, to be honest. In any case, I think it performs rather nicely. As to wetness, it's not a gusher, but it's not a super dry pen. It's pretty well tuned, I would say. As always, very careful, but line variation, well, maybe you can squeeze out a little bit. In my experience, Laban nibs are pretty stiff. They have been described as nails by some. They are pretty hard, so don't rigid, I should say. So don't expect too much yield, bounce, whatever you like to call it. Reverse writing makes the nib very dry. So I don't think this is one of the pens you really want to do this with, because you'll end up with writing that is illegible. Okay, so that was the parts of the pen and how it writes. Let's see what I like about it and what I don't like about it. Okay, what do I like and not like about the Laban Ocean? Well, to be honest, I think there's a lot to like. Nice range of nib options, fine, medium, broad, very pretty material. The acrylic does look really good, both the ivory and this turquoise acrylic, they look very nice. I really like that. Number 6 nib, that's nice. A lot of number 6 nibs available, so if you don't particularly like this, you could put another nib on there, but as I said, fine, medium and broad available, so you have quite a bit to choose from. Comfortable pen, comfortable section, nice size. I find posting a little awkward because the cap sticks out so far, but that seems to be a very specific design choice. I do think the pen looks very classy. A lot of metal rings that may not appeal to everyone, but to be honest, I think the material makes up for a lot. What I will also say is that nib really is something. This broad nib writes very, very pleasantly, and that at the end of the day is what you buy a pen for, to actually write with it. So that is superb. Very, very nice, very pleasant. Things I don't like so much, well, I already mentioned the posting, not an enormous deal, but to me it looks a little odd. One issue is this material. I've had that before in Laban pens. It is a little bit prone to staining, and given that it's a cartridge-converter fill pen, people will dip this into the ink bottle, and you may be able to see that it already is. It seems to be stained a little bit by the turquoise ink. Maybe on the inside something got trapped between the nib collar, so the outside of the nib collar and the inside of the section. Bit of an issue. Of course, if you want to stop that from happening, you can dip the converter straight into the ink. Use that, and then maybe prime, like dip the nib and feed in the ink, not the section, and you should be okay. Bottom line, for about 150 bucks, you could do worse than buy this pen. It writes well, it looks good, it's comfortable to hold. What more could you wish for? So I think it's very, very nice. A kind thank you to Laban for sending over the pen for review purposes. I really appreciate it. Guys, I hope this was useful, and I'll gladly see you later. Bye bye.